Hey Warner, how's it going? How are you?
I'm great, Tyler. Great meeting you. I hear you're one of our interview engineers.
I am. And so, yeah, and on behalf of all of the interview engineers here at Karat and the entire global community, welcome to Karat. So it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today. And yeah, so if you're ready, actually, it's a little weird for me to actually be interviewing someone who already has the job, but I think this is going to be a really, really cool conversation. I'm definitely been looking forward to this. So yeah.
Great,
I,
great. Same here, same here. And how many interviews have you done?
Yeah, so actually I've done almost 800 at this point.
Wow.
I've actually yeah, it's been weird, right? So I actually started with Carrot back in 2016, so it's been about 5 years now. And yeah, I mean ultimately I have a similar story to a lot of interview engineers here, and it's just been really crazy so far. So but yeah, enough about me. I know, normally I actually like to ask a candidate to share a little bit more about their technical background. So I'd love to get to know you and your technical background. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I can give you a quick run through my technical background. So I'm a theoretical physicist. I have a PhD in theoretical nuclear physics, and I
Oh,
came to
nice.
the States a long time ago in the 90s as a postdoc at the UW in Seattle. It's my first visit to Seattle, and then I was a postdoc for a while. I was in Israel. I was back at Ohio State, and then from Ohio State, I got a real job for a company doing neural networks, like I like
Nice.
deep learning way back then. Then I worked in Pittsburgh for a couple of years for a spin-off of Carnegie Mellon. Built some stuff for the military,
Hmm.
some like interesting tech. We were part of the Command Post of the Future DARPA program.
Yeah.
And then it was time to get out of Pittsburgh and also get a little bit more to a domain with more customers. So I ended up at Amazon. I was about 4 years at Amazon. I owned all of gifting and wish lists and their registries. I think a lot of the way I look at engineering and the way I look at like managing teams and overall comes from my time at Amazon. And then I was at Expedia for a while. I built a team around also machine learning, around intelligently matching supply and demand was our mantra, and did a
Right.
lot of helping them get to a more decoupled microservices, or at that time it was called service-oriented architecture. And then I
Hmm.
was at Red Paint for a year, a startup in around publishing. And then I built the CL office for Ticketmaster, and my team was part of their it's called TM Plus. It's basically where Ticketmaster fan, when you buy a ticket on Ticketmaster, you can post it there. And
Yep.
when another fan buys it, my team built that. And then the last 5 years, I was at a
Wow.
startup called Conversica. We had
Hmm.
intelligent virtual assistants that basically had email conversations with customers. And now, since November, I'm at our November 15th, 16th, I'm at Karat, and super psyched to be here.
Wow. Oh my goodness. You have such an awesome background. I mean, the fact that you started in, physics and just kind of like moved your way up to here, that's actually pretty amazing. I love to hear that. So yeah, it's a pleasure officially meeting you, and definitely welcome to Carrot. And honestly, you really do have a story similar to a lot of the other interview engineers here in our community, right? A lot of us are seasoned developers, so you'll definitely feel at home talking to us. Of course, some of us are startup founders, some of us are independent consultants with established businesses and things of that nature. And a lot of us are actually just full time engineers, right, with experiences, like yours, right? And so, some of us have worked for the biggest companies in the world, and others have just, cool little companies, right? But yeah, just we're just a diverse group of experts, and you definitely embody that
No, and I
to the
would,
max.
I would love to get for you guys to get even more involved with the product.
Yeah.
Potentially help us build some tools, or maybe once we get to exposing some APIs, or I mean, there's it's an amazing engineering brain trust that we have access to that I'd love to leverage more. And I know some of our strong engineers that are on my team now came out of the interview engineers. So I hope
Yep.
we get to work together quite a bit. So.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely sure we'll be able to. And like I said, we love to, work on the product, right? We definitely understand and we definitely appreciate, what the engineering team does and definitely want to do everything that we can to, evolve the product and, make it our own, right?
Right.
So yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, so it's great to officially meet you. And like I said, you definitely embody everything, that we love here about our interview engineers and our engineering department. So actually this brings me to my first real question. So why Karat? Out of all the companies that you could have worked for with your impressive resume, why did you decide to come here?
So I've been looking around in the summer for a couple of months, and I did have quite a diverse spectrum of opportunities. I got introduced to Mo through a former Amazon buddy of mine who was traveling through Europe, and he was in his Volkswagen bus in Regensburg, and we got on a call, and he's like, "You got to talk to Mo." So I talked to Mo, and then I talked to Jeff and talked to the folks there. So number one, I really I've met somebody so personal and that human vibe than those guys in a long time. I mean, they're really, really nice people, and they're really, and the whole team, really strong culture, a really good vibe. And then I have to say, out of all the things that I've worked on, it's not that I don't like to travel or that I don't like to go to shows or I don't like to buy stuff, clearly like to buy stuff online, but nothing ever resonated with me as much as hiring engineers. I mean, it's where I totally am such an example customer. With all the companies I worked at and all the teams I built, I don't know, probably hired maybe 200 engineers and probably interviewed a couple of thousand. And, so I can totally relate to, that cycle. And, I don't think I've been anywhere where my engineers weren't always complaining about having to do phone screens, and I knew many of them weren't good at phone screens, and we did a lot of work to get to a point where they were good at hiring. So it's finally a product that it's for the first time I'm working somewhere where the product totally resonates with me, and that that really swayed me. That and the fact that I really liked everybody, and there was I felt there was a lot I could help them out with, in on the tech side and on the getting the team really getting the team humming. So that's why I'm here.
Nice. And actually, I feel like my reason for being here is really similar to yours, right? I've been in a lot of interview engineers in my day. I interviewed at my full-time job before joining at Karat. And I can just say everybody is not meant to interview, right? I've had some awful experiences. I've had some really good experiences too. But ultimately, when you have this hour to, find the right candidate, at least you can do is give them an environment where they can perform their best, right? And so, and so that's why I personally, that's why I love Karat, and I love what we do here, and being able to just, have the time to actually connect with the candidate while they're going through this, ultimately daunting process, right? So,
well, and do it in a fair and equitable and in a way where they get a fair shot at
exactly
getting to show their skills and being able to land where they need to land. So.
Exactly. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I'm so glad this is how I know you're a perfect fit for Karat, because I feel like you can have this conversation with anybody in the interview, engineer kind of plethora, we're based out of the US, all over the world and everything, right? And we will all pretty much have the same basic gist of an answer, right? We feel like the candidate, deserves a really good experience, and it deserves to be in an environment while they're interviewing to just be able to just be themselves and be the best version of themselves. So
totally.
yeah, awesome. So now that we're actually on the topic of interviews here, I have to ask what your favorite interview question is.
My friends always make fun of me for that, but way back then when I joined Amazon, I joined as a senior manager, and you have to show some coding skills, I guess. Yep. And they literally had me come up right with an algo on the whiteboard on how to mix a deck of cards, and literally 3 or 4 times in a row. And the second guy, I said, "Hey, I already did it for the first guy," but they weren't having it. And I kind of kept using it over the years, and it works actually relatively well. I'm sometimes shocked where it's senior engineers and hey, write me a little algo how to mix a deck of cards, and it just doesn't come together. So
my gosh.
it's not. I know it's not the 3-part problems that we're doing with, sort of like a little intro, and then it gets a little harder, and it gets even harder. It's sort of like more for, folks that really aren't as technical, but I always find it pretty useful.
Nice. Yeah. Actually, I'm thinking as soon as you said that, I'm like, I've never dealt with a problem where I had to shuffle a deck of cards. And now after this, I'm pretty sure I'm going to try to write uh,
You
a
should.
solution for shuffling a
Well,
deck of cards.
like Python, there's a
Yeah,
shuffle function, but clearly, I mean, don't use the shuffle function. Like, go right into
exactly.
it.
Yeah, that's cheating, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely cheating. So actually, I think, I'm more of a C. I do a lot of Python, but I definitely love C. So I might try to do it in like a C to C plus plus implementation. Make it really hard for myself. But
And I'm like super impressed with also, you guys, like all those different languages that you have to,
yep.
like, because the candidate can pick whatever language they want, and then you have to be able to have have them solve the problem in their language. It's very impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely something that we definitely strive for. Is just to get familiar with as many languages as we can, and be able to help the candidate through it. So yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. So, but yeah, actually now I'm thinking that, you probably come up with the next question for our content team to incorporate in our stack of questions. So hint, hint, if somebody comes to contact you about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, and I do have actually one last question for you. So, I've actually heard the Karat leadership team, Mo and Jeff say that interviews change lives, right? And they say it all the time, and I think that's something that again really resonates with me and the interview engineers here on the platform. So, can you walk me through an interview maybe that's changed your life, whether it's for the good, better, or for the worst, or really made an impact on you?
Well, there's probably some that were for the worse, where in hindsight it might have been better if I, wouldn't have worn a shirt to that interview, so I wouldn't have gotten the job. But like, let's keep those aside. I think on the positive side, that the one I think that was the biggest change for me was Amazon, where I worked for a small, Carnegie like university spin-off, pretty nerdy company, and then I ended up at Amazon. And we were actually the company I was at. We were sort of like a design. So I was running engineering, but there was also a design firm like a la IDEO, and on the way flying out to Seattle, I grabbed the book from our library about like the IDEO's design process. And then Amazon, as part of my interview, they asked me, one of the questions was, hey, if Jeff Bezos, he's going to like fire all his email team, what are you going to do to come up with a new email program? And then I cited a little bit like how I would do that, from my own product experience, but a lot of that what was in the book. And
wow. Yeah.
The Art of Innovation. So in a way, by me having read that book on the plane and being able to talk about it, I was really able to. And I could tell in the interview, the person who was interviewing me, he was like, you could tell he was like totally impressed. He was like, really? You get to do that? That is so cool. And like you get that feel sometimes when you're in an interview where, hey, now I get the job.
Yeah.
And I felt, I think I'm going to get that job. And that was definitely, all the tech stuff I did afterwards. I'm sure I wouldn't be, at Karat if, way back then, Amazon would have taken a chance on me. So I would say that's the interview that changed my life. So the most.
Nice. That's awesome. Like I said, that's really, really cool. Like I said, you have such an awesome background and such an amazing resume. Just to say that, that one interview, you were able to pick it out of all the interviews. I can't even imagine how many interviews you've been in your life, but out of all those interviews, that being the impact, that's actually really, really awesome. So yeah, that's even more of an example as to why we're here, right? You had that interview that's changed your life. It was a great interview. You got a great vibe and feel from it, and just made you, gravitate towards that company, and the rest is history. So yeah.
And I'm sure we did that for, I'm sure there's hundreds of or thousands of engineers probably that, whose lives we changed, right? Where they, successfully made it for one of our interviews, and, now they work at have a great job and work at the company that, makes them happy. So.
Yep. And that's what we strive for. And honestly, that's again another reason why I do it, right? As long as I can get that one candidate to be matched with a perfect company of their dreams, I feel like I've done my job. So
No, no,
yeah.
I sense you're a good interviewer. I think you have
Oh, thank
you have
you.
some great people skills.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. No, that that means a lot. So, yeah. Like I said, it's definitely been a pleasure speaking with you, and hopefully this has been hopefully the best interview you've had so far, Carrie. Not to
Yes,
toot my own horn,
absolutely.
but no,
I did do a real interview to sort of like to just try out the product.
yeah.
And I didn't make it all the way through, but it's all good.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, like I said, you're here now, and welcome to the community. We'll be more than happy to interview you as many times as you'd like. So
Great.
feel free to reach out. We'll definitely get you hooked up with one of our amazing interview engineers here on the platform. So yeah, I actually that's all the questions that I had, and like I said, I know you just started, and thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me. Hopefully this is going to be one of many conversations that we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, so again, once again, welcome to the Karat community. We are so happy to have you, and I'm sure that all of your experience is going to definitely help us build on this already amazing platform.